Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, it's not quite a late night Villa Filler. We're on the cusp of it. I'd say late night. It's probably any time after 10 p.m. really. I know it's dark, but it's only about 25 to 9 on a fine Monday evening when we're recording this, mate. A couple of days after the game. I think the less said on that one, the better. We will get into it a little bit, but mate, how are you doing? Do you know what? Tell us about your weekend, Dan, because
yeah, mate.
That's more entertaining.
Yeah, it's probably I'm the reason that we're not recording.
I'm glad.
Sort of this on Saturday night. I don't think this is the late night Villa Filler, more just the late Villa Filler.
Yeah,
two days after the game. So yeah, this is just the late Villa Filler. But no, mate, it's on me. While you guys unfortunately didn't get the podcast, I was away over the weekend during the game. I was actually on the train. So I was just saying to you off air, mate, that I watched a little bit of it, sort of through intermittent streaming and everything like that. But I gotta be honest with you, gave up pretty quickly. It was like one of those things where why am I even trying to watch this game? I was getting frustrated. You know, mate, do you get the kind of rage when you can't get a stream to work? You just rage, that triggers me so much. And then it's like I had that going on, and then I was finally getting the stream working. And I was getting triggered by the game. I was just like, I can't win. I don't know what's more frustrating, like this not loading or actually working, and then I have to watch the absolute garbage that's going on at Molineux. So that aside, I had a nice time, mate. I was down at the Warner Brothers Studios in Watford doing the Harry Potter tour, which I've got to say was I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan, but I had a great time. Thoroughly recommend it to the listeners of the Villa Filler. I had a blast. I'm sorry all of you guys probably didn't because you were watching the 3 o'clock, but at least you can have a little bit in silence to make that. I had a decent Saturday.
Mate, I too gave up on the stream. I couldn't find one, and I couldn't be bothered to find one. So I had Soccer Saturday on in the background, and I was sort of refreshing the BBC News feeds. But intermittently between that, if I'm being honest, I was refreshing yours and Chloe's Instagram stories so I could see what was going on, because that was certainly more entertaining than the sort of the steaming pile of shite that we got delivered at Molineux again. As we kind of said at the top, guys, I mean, first of all, we've done this from today's video sponsors, get it out of the way. Dan, have you ever wanted an app that collates all the scores and news from your favourite teams in the whole of Europe, Dan? Have you ever wanted that?
It's a constant need of mine, mate, because there's always news. That's the thing, is that we love this game. We love the industry of football because it's ever-changing, mate, and you need a place to keep up with it all.
And we have that place exactly for you guys. It's OneFootball. Guys, this app is genuinely, it's life-changing.
It's great because I actually I use it. So it's great because it's where I pull the stats from for the podcast. So it's like there's all that new stuff as well, but you can track all of the players' stats from across Europe for all the different leagues, for continental football as well. It's a dream. It's a dream. And the best part, mate, is it's free.
It's free, and guys, it would help support the channel massively if you check that OneFootball using the link in the description down below. We promise you guys won't be disappointed. Guys, check out OneFootball in the top link of the description if you haven't already. They've been kind enough to renew, and their support, it means the world to Dan and I. So please keep continuing to check the link, use the app. It is very useful. We promise we'll record a new ad read soon, just not like this week because I'm not really about. But we'll get onto that a bit later. But Dan, I mean, embarrassing. In what's considered a local derby, a rivalry, the most one-sided rivalry I think there ever has and will be. I've never ever woke up and thought, Jesus Christ, I hate Wolverhampton Wanderers. I do when we get beaten by them, to be fair. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. But Wolves are nothing to me, and that's something I've maintained throughout the whole existence of this podcast. This game is just another game. The defeat doesn't feel any worse because it came to Wolves. And when you take the result and the performance in isolation, it's disastrous. But if you look at the fact that Dean came off after 10 minutes with the shits, Danny Ings became a father overnight, which of course, congratulations, Danny, and your partner. That obviously threw a spanner into the works. I don't think the plan was ever to start Leon, especially as this sort of I don't even want to say second striker because I couldn't really tell you what he was doing. That was never a part of the plan. You can't account for the slips that happened either, mate. And at least Gerard took it all in good faith after the game as well. It's just one of them. I think all I have to say, and I tweeted about it the other day. I'm just feeling so sort of apathetic towards Villa at the moment. I don't want to say, Dan, that sitting here and talking to you is a chore, because it's one of the highlights of my week getting to talk to you, mate. But the topic is certainly becoming a bit of a chore, because we're just it's only a few weeks ago I was saying, mate, we win these games and we're looking for 8th, maybe even 7th. We're so far away from that now. And by no means am I sitting here and saying, look at us, it's a relegation battle, it's this and that. It's nothing. It's mid-table mediocrity. And I just can't wait for the summer, mate, honestly, because I don't want the burden of knowing that I'm going to be let down at 3:00 every single Saturday by these 18 men that I'm supposed to have undying love and affection for, mate. I'm burnt out.
Yeah, mate, it's getting to that point where, you never want to, I hate saying that there's sort of nothing to play for and you want to wish away the season and everything like that, because I still believe that, even if you do exist in this sort of midfield area where there's not much to play for in the mid-table, you're too far away from relegation to even worry, and you're too far away from Europe to dream. You're sort of just existing and playing out these games. And that may be all. Yes, okay, maybe positionally or continentally, there's nothing to play for. But for the club, there are still millions of pounds on the line, depending on the position in which we finish. If we finish in the top half, I think even psychologically, mentally, that's huge. That is huge. Whilst it might not mean much financially if we finish 10th or whether we finish 11th, I think if you finish in the upper half of that table, to see yourself in the top half, when all is said and done, on the first page, you can consider that progression from last season. And I think ultimately for the fans as well, there's still a lot riding on every game. There's a chance to make memories. There's a chance to make amazing things happen that the fans will remember for a long time. We were talking about in the preview, mate, of the previous Wolves game, that we were remembering fondly the time that we beat them 4-1 at Villa Park. Bjarnason scored and everything like that. And that's the sort of thing. And I'm not saying obviously that, you got to go out and beat everyone 4-1, but even if just an away win at Wolves and stuff like that, an away win anywhere, a win means so much. It means so much to the fans. It's something that we will talk about for a long time. So yes, okay, mathematically, systematically, there's not a lot to play for. No, but, I still think that there's a lot on the line. And to be honest with you, I do think that it sort of vindicated what we've been saying on the podcast, mate. I felt like we've been banging a drum to a pretty empty crowd in saying, neither of us really wanted to see Luiz dropped. I've been saying for the longest time that, okay, you want Luiz gone, but who's going to come in? Who's going to go and replace him? It's one thing saying you got to drop Luiz. It's another saying, okay, who are you going to put in? And we saw Sanson play, and mate, I was very glad to see that. And I felt like he was hard done by for the record. But we missed Douglas Luiz. We had no presence in that midfield whatsoever. And look, I'm not saying that Dougie is playing great. I'm not saying that he would have fixed that. I'm not saying that we would have won with him, but he's the best we have to play that position at the moment. And that may change in the coming weeks because Marvelous Nakamba is coming back. But at least if there's something we've got to take out of this game, it realizes that right now, at the time we're recording this podcast, and certainly come 3:00 on Saturday, Douglas Luiz was the best available holding midfielder at Aston Villa. And I think it was a mistake not to play him.
Yeah, that's the thing, innit, mate? Like, we're so... I think, the latest sort of victim, I want to say, of this sort of, I want to call it sort of just reaction, really, because that's essentially what it is John McGinn. Look at him. He has to play deeper, and, by no means is he having a fantastic season by his standards. I'll be the first to admit that. But I am a big John McGinn fan. And I also have to say that as well, mate. And I know you are. I think the thing is, you look at, I just have a really difficult time understanding the McGinn's shit chat, because, we come up and Manchester United won him for 50 million. and we're all panicking and we're losing our heads and we're saying he's worth double and it's this and it's that. And then, you know, we go, he's scoring goals for Scotland last week, mate, in big games. He's playing further up the pitch and, you know, that's where he has to play. I'm sorry, but, you know, is Felipe Coutinho undroppable? Probably. Should he be? No. But, I mean, of course, Coutinho is 10 times the player John McGinn is. If you buy Coutinho, you may as well sell John McGinn. If you're not going to play him in his best position, mate. How long have you been saying it's square pegs round holes with McGinn?
Well, this is the thing, mate. Is that's the thing that worries me is that with John, I don't see a place for him in this system to get that advanced role out of him, because the tens that we play are sort of wide forward wingers, aren't they? Really. Yeah. So, like, how do you fit John into this system? And I can tell you that it's going to be the same thing, mate. And I think it'll end up being the same thing if we sell Douglas. I think it's heartbreak because both of them will go on to find positions that suit them, and both will come on to be fantastic players. And I think both of them have got the better years ahead of them for sure. So, yeah, it's one of those where the whole midfield, I think, is square pegs round holes, mate. And we've both said that for a long time. Is that I don't believe there's a player playing in that midfield three that is playing in the right position.
No, I think the thing is as well, like, we have to be careful. I think, first of all, there is a lot to be said about, you know, bits falling on Gerard. Now, I'm by no means like, get Gerard out. I can't believe we're even seeing that kind of stuff, mate. But I think sometimes, and, you know, we've said the exact same thing about Dean, mate. We've said the exact same thing about any manager. There has to be a plan B, and you have to get the very best out of what you've got at the moment. 4-3-3 isn't quite working. So for me, do you revert back to a 4-2-3-1, or do you just, you know, even stick to the 4-3-3 and just play people in their positions? Do you know what I mean? I think there's a lot more questions that are being thrown up than answers. I think we're getting. I think, you know, you question Emi Buendia. What's he got to do to get a game, mate? He's come on for the past couple of games now. West Ham came on, creates the goal. He's tenacious in his pressing. You know, really looking to prove a point. Same again against Wolves, comes on. Is arguably one of our best players. But, you know, we find ourselves in a situation whereby I think, you know, we're going off on a bit of tangent here, mate. I know, but I think it's important because somebody needs to be held accountable for the fact that we spent 120 odd million on Leon Bailey, Danny Ings and Emi Buendia, and none of them are having an impact. And the only one who really, for me, I think made sense as the true Grealish replacement is Buendia. And he's the only one who's shown his value out of the three as well. But again, he's in the same situation as the other two. He can't find his way into this team right now. I love Philippe Coutinho, and I would give my kidney to have him, mate. We paid 40 million for Buendia, though. We can't we've made our bed with these summer signings. I think the only one who you can write off, and again, I'm very against this because you guys know I fucking love Danny Ings. If you have to get rid of one of the three, it has to be him because Leon Bailey will come good. Emi Buendia, he's proven it for years. One of the most creative players in England. Like, you know, we're going to get absolutely slaughtered for this in the comments, mate, for even, you know, just initiating this discussion. But like, do we need Philippe Coutinho? Guys, please let us know. And it's quite clear he's taken us up a level, mate. He has, and he's been fantastic. But why spend another 30-40 million pounds on, you know, another, like, a carbon copy of Buendia? Obviously he's better, but, you know, we've paid that money. We've got our little Emmy.
Yeah, it's a very difficult one, mate. And I think, you know, to start off with the whole thing about Gerard's system, he's in a very difficult position now whereby everybody knows that's the philosophy that, you know, he wants to play. He's already flip-flopped from it, used that for a few games, then he's gone back to it. So then if he goes back to that formation again, you know, you always see this about, that's one of the, you know, in a dressing room. And I'm not saying that's going to happen by any means, but that's one of the things that the players can start to lose respect for a manager for if he flips between systems and can't seem to make his mind up. It's one of those things that can really give players, you know, irk them. And so Stevie's in this difficult position now whereby, okay, he went away from it. It worked. Alexa doesn't know what's going on either, mate.
But yeah, how spooky is that? I hope you can hear this at home, guys.
Yeah, I wish I did. But no, I mean, she says it all, man. I don't know. It's a very difficult one. I think, what does he do now in terms of the end of the season? Does he go back to what works and move away from his preferred system, knowing well that he'll have to go back to it again in the summer? Or does he stick it out and try and implement a philosophy for the longest time in order to get themselves the best possible preparation for next season, which all roads seem to be leading to at the moment? And then to answer your questions about the signings, I think it's one of those where I do believe every player has a home. But my issue is that I don't see how all of them can at once in this team, because Leon Bailey will come good. So will Emi Buendia. But the two are completely different players. How can you have a system in which you have those two wingers on the pitch, which I'm assuming Villa want to do because we bought both of them. So I'm assuming the intention was at one point, albeit under Dean Smith at the time, was to have Leon Bailey and Emi Buendia playing on the pitch at the same time. We then bought Danny Ings, which throws a huge spanner in the works, because then it sort of began to felt like, okay, what is the plan for Buendia? Is he going to be deployed as a 10? We sort of saw that didn't really work. He was always better off coming off the right. And then obviously we've picked up Coutinho in January. And then you have these sort of four players, and I'm including Ings in that bracket, whereby one is a striker, two are wingers, completely different types from one another. And then we've also played Coutinho off the left. So it's like, how do you have Buendia and Bailey at the same time in a system that benefits them both? And then I see all these sort of transfer rumours I saw today that were linked with Alan St. Maximin. It's like, why? He's Leon Bailey. It's the same. It's Leon Bailey in a Gucci headband. It's the same player. It's the trickery. It's the pace. It's the flair. It's an out-and-out winger. It's an indirect goal threat. It's a set piece taker. It's Leon Bailey. Yeah. Like, why would you, like, obviously I'm not saying that this is like all rumours are true, but it's like, do you know what I mean? Like, we're picking up these players, and to be fair, fan base is something we've had right all along. It's like the Ings one was amazing, but so weird. And it's never really came to light why we did it. Everyone at the time went, oh my God, that's amazing, but how the hell is that going to work? And that question has never been answered. Two managers have had a crack at that whip now, and no one knows what's going on. And we have one of England's best goal scorers of the Premier League era, genuinely, in terms of goals per game ratio, one of England's, I'm going to say, top 10 strikers of the Premier League era. Yeah. And he's wasting away on the bench. No goals, looks like a shadow of the player he was. If he left, I wouldn't begrudge him. So it's like, we're in this really weird situation now where I think we are going to have to make some tough sales, mate. We really are. And I think that sort of brings us full circle back to McGinn and Louise and Sanson and all these guys, because we have to just accept at some point that we have so many different players who are absolutely fantastic. And it does look like we're going to pick up Coutinho. And so if he comes in as well, you have to look at it and go, okay, if we're going to build this team around Coutinho, which if we have Coutinho, you realistically have to. I think what does that mean for Danny Ings? What does that mean for Leon Bailey? Like, how do you also incorporate those guys? It's a whole mess, mate. It is a whole mess. And I think it's one of those where neither of us has the answers. I'm looking forward to see what the comments say. But I'd like to move the conversation onto something maybe a bit more promising, and one person that definitely isn't leaving, and it's a nice bit of positivity after a weekend which has been pretty dire. Matty Cash has signed on for another 5 years. He's really turned it on in recent months. You know, we started to sort of question sort of the end product and everything like that a few months ago. He then went and answered both of us, mate, with a nice spell of goals and assists in a month. He signed a deal which looks like it's going to fend off Atletico. Yeah, this felt nice to see, I think.
For sure, man. I think it's come at the right time as well. I think, you know, he's just qualified for the World Cup, as you say, mate. He's back in the goals, the assists. He did a great interview the other day. I think it may have been with BT, I can't remember, but he was saying how sort of him and the gaffer are sitting down and they're watching the tapes of Trent and Reece James and Joao Cancelo and all these other players. And looking at how we can improve the output. And, you know, that's what we've been crying forever, mate, isn't it? And, you know, to have 3 goals and as many assists in the Premier League is absolutely fantastic. And, you know, if if not pleasing us, Dan, if anything, he's pleasing, the best striker in world football right now, Robert Lewandowski. So, you've got to raise your standards for him, because, he's going to be looking to make an impact on the World Cup come December time. And yeah, it was nice to watch the interview. I don't know if you caught it, mate, but from the contract, but like he seems like such a good guy, which is again, something that like it may not mean a lot to some people, but like for me, it's nice to know that we've got good people at the club who I think do believe in the project. And listen, if Atletico still come in with 50 million or 40 million, I'm selling you, Matty. I'm sorry, that's just business. But I'm more than happy for him to stay, mate. It's fantastic news, and hopefully, with that, there's hopefully going to be some more Carney news. I think we should probably talk about Carney, mate. So I know the last time we spoke about it, I'm a bit stuck, right? Because the thing with footballers and players and all of this kind of stuff is you never get the full picture of what's going on, right? You never know. And of course, we as football fans, we have far too much spare time on our hands. So, from a couple of weeks ago, people stalking Carney and seeing he's deleted all of his Instagram photos, and with all the talk of the contracts not being ready or whatever, people are like losing their minds. And I'm genuinely not bothered. Like, it would be a shame to lose such a talented player. And, there's been a lot of talk in the past few weeks, mate, about Borussia Dortmund, which, of course, talented young Englishmen, they love that. Tick that one right off their bucket list. But, like, if he doesn't sign, it's not the end of the world. Like, it isn't. And I think as well, like, on that same note, mate, like, we just need to, I think at least, like, people just need to chill out, because like, sending him messages, sending him abusive messages, all this kind of stuff. He's a child. He is a child. Like, his destiny is being decided by his agent quite clearly. And, with a certain other player who's just signed a 5-year, £7 million Gucci contract today, the players don't really get that much of a say. Of course, they'll get some say, but listen, if he's going to walk free, get a massive signing on fee, go and play Champions League football at Borussia Dortmund, that's fine. Like, for me, Carney has shown that he's more than capable of playing in the Premier League and playing for Aston Villa. We haven't seen it on a consistent enough basis that I would like. But, like, this kind of stuff happens, mate. And we've got plenty of people waiting in the wings who can take that mantle, mate. It's kind of funny because before the end of last season, nobody had heard of Carney Chukwuemeka, and now we can't get him off our minds. And I just feel like we need to, again, I don't know whether this is just how I feel, just about how I'm just feeling towards the club in general, but like, I don't care, mate. I don't care. Like, if he signs, great. If he doesn't, I ain't losing sleep, honestly. Like, maybe he goes and wins the Champions League. Maybe he goes and wins Ballon d'Or. Who gives a fuck, man? Like, let him do him.
Yeah, it's one of those, mate, where you can't we can't influence these things. I said a couple of weeks ago that I still believe that Carney is the jewel in the current crop. I think Ramsey's a fantastic player, but I've sort of always maintained that Chukwuemeka is the most talented of that particular crop. But I think, yeah, it's going to be one of those where, if he leaves, it's just going to be another big what if. This is something that we've been saying for a little while, mate, is that, okay, this current transfer policy is fantastic, but what does it mean for the young guys? The more that you keep spending 40, 50 million in every position, the more that hampers these youth players and their pass to the first team. Because, you take the midfield as the perfect example. Okay, say this summer we go out and we spend, like the rumour says, let's say, for argument's sake, we spend £60 million on Calvin Phillips. What does that mean for Tim Urugbunam? What his path to the first team for Calvin Phillips is 25, 26. He signs on a 4 or 5 year deal. Is blocked for that period consistently. because there's no way that he's going to come and take a £60 million player's spot anytime soon. And it's the same in every position. Matty Cash signs on for another 5 years. That's Kane Kessler probably not getting into the team for a good majority of those years on a first team consistent basis. And it's the same across the board. It's the same in every position. So, I get that, okay, people are sort of saying that, okay, Carney's not going to get as much football here as he is anywhere else. And to a certain extent, that is true. But we've seen his minutes die down a lot recently. When Gerard first came in, Carney was getting sub appearances off the bench pretty consistently. You think back to the Man City game where he has that chance to score against Edison and everything like that. This guy was pretty involved, and it's sort of trickled further and further away for him, and his role in the squad has sort of regressed. And I think maybe that's why this sort of lack of contract movement has heated up a little bit as he's come to be involved less. But yeah, I think obviously the club is doing fantastic things with the academy, and I love to see it. My only worry is whether the transfer policy negates it slightly. But I suppose there must be a plan for that, and I look forward to seeing what it is. But for the life of me, I don't.
That's the thing, mate. It's to confuse. Which direction does the club want to take the transfer policies? I think five subs next season does change a lot of things, and I think there is perhaps going to be more of a pathway, more opportunity, at least for minutes here and there. If Morgan Sanson can't get a game with 5 subs, then what's the point? In my opinion, mate. But it's something to consider. Let us know what you guys think about the whole Carney situation. If you're abusing him, fuck off, because he is a child. It ain't really that deep. But mate, before we go, wrap things up. Tottenham Hotspur, mate, they're on a 3-match win run right now, which isn't very Spursy, but it would be very Spursy, mate, for them to lose this game. You think back to, the game at White Hart Lane was an absolute disaster, mate. Honestly, it was shocking. Awful day. Spurs were awful. We were awful. But even if you think back to the game last season, obviously with no fans, they get the dubious penalty so early on, and that kills the game as well. The last game Spurs lost was against Manchester United away from home, where Ronaldo broke the record for the most career goals, which was remarkable. His first goal was insane. But before that, they were sort of going through the spell, mate, winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one. Obviously getting knocked out of the cup by Middlesbrough. It seems like Spurs have settled a lot more now, mate. And I've seen quite a fair bit of Spurs recently. And, the likes of Kulusevski and Bentancur, mate, who we were only talking about in January about potential Villa signings, are looking like they've found a home in North London, mate, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. It's left you sort of thinking, what if, hasn't it? But yeah, no, the one thing I will say to everything that's going on with the Villa and everything like that is that consistency is a real problem throughout the league. You can only, if outside of the top 2 teams, in Man City and Liverpool, can you name too many thoroughly consistent sides after that? Chelsea are the 3rd best team in the league, and they've just lost in that manner to Brentford. Yeah. I think we would have put Arsenal maybe in that conversation, but they're currently 2-0 down after the first half at Crystal Palace. So that sort of negates that point. But it does sort of start to feel like Spurs might be finding a rhythm. Some very good performances in beating Tottenham 3-1 and then Newcastle 5-1. They've got to fancy. Yeah, sorry. That would be particularly impressive, beating Newcastle 5-1, I should say. But no, they've got to fancy themselves coming into this one. We've got a dire record against Spurs. We really do. And I think they'll look at their run into the end of the season. They've still got to play Burnley, still got to play Tottenham, still got to play Brentford and Brighton and Leicester. And there's a lot of winnable games for them. I think we would come into that category. Obviously, they've still got to play Liverpool and a very interesting looking North London derby. But there's no real reason for them to think that they can come out of Villa Park with anything other than a win. Villa, really need a response now. There really needs to be some kind of change. 3 defeats in a row now after 3 consecutive victories. Talk about consistency. So by that logic, mate, we should then win our next 3 games. So I look forward to winning at Villa Park on Saturday.
Mate, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? That would be. I think the thing is as well, like you look like there's pressure on Tottenham now. I think Arsenal have a game in hand on them, and they're tied on points. Obviously, if you say they're currently losing now, mate, then that obviously leaves Tottenham in a much healthier position. But obviously, there's everything then riding on that North London derby. What worries me about Spurs, mate, is the options now. Like before, it kind of felt like if you nullified Kane or if you nullified Son, you can get a draw, or you could maybe even sneak a win with what is a fairly dubious defence. That, if I'm being honest, mate, I'm still not convinced by. The likes of Emerson Royale, he's struggled a lot. Christian Romero seems like the only sort of reliable defender in that team at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
He's a player I like the look of a lot, but he kind of struggled a bit when he first came as well. So he's one who's adjusted to the league and is doing well. But you look at the game the other day, mate. They bring on Bergwijn, he scores within a minute. They have the likes of Kulusevski, Son, Kane, Bergwijn, as I say, Moura. They've got a plethora of attacking talent, mate, which they can dispose at any given time. And I think, as much as we love Tyrone, mate, I think it's just going to be one of them ones, isn't it? Where I think we saw how easily that they carved Newcastle open after what was, if we're being completely fair and honest, mate, a really good performance from Newcastle in the first half, defended them extremely well, and whatever happened in the second half, you can't really account for that, really. I guess just the fact that Newcastle are safe, but I guess their heads may be switched off. But you're going to have to be 100% focused. It's going to be really tough if we can just not lose, mate. I think I'd be happy. Please don't ruin my weekend, Villa. I'm not going to be about for that podcast, so Dan will have you covered, maybe with a special guest. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for that. Make sure you check out OneFootball using the link in the description. Helps us both out a lot.
Yes, indeed.
Make sure you subscribe. It'd be really nice if we could hit 6K subscribers before the end of the season. That would be much appreciated. And anybody who's watched this and especially listened this far, thank you very much for all of your support, especially when they're doing shit. It means a lot that you guys still tune in and want to listen to the conversation that we have, no matter how depressing it may be. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.